I'll see if I can fix it. I'm gonna fix it. Try now.
Kathy, can you hear?
Now I can hear you.
All right, thanks. All right, I guess we'll be moving right on to the work session. That's you, Vin, what do you got?
Okay. First up is open space, presentation by our CFO, Jim Mangan, on open space, on an open space tax referendum.
Thank you. Okay, back in 2018, just about the time when the redevelopment effort in the city was starting to really take off, we thought that it would be a good idea to set money aside each year for the preservation of open space property. Okay, this led to the creation of the Hackensack Municipal Open Space Trust Fund, and the trust fund is funded through the Hackensack Open Space tax. The idea being that it was a new tax. Back then it was a half a penny on every $100 of assessed value. The money goes into the Hackensack Open Space Trust Fund, and it's used specifically to either buy property to keep for open space, or to enhance and improve property that's already been allocated for open space, which is the city's parkland. Okay? It was an idea we had in 2018. We put a referendum on the ballot in the November 2018 election, and the referendum passed overwhelmingly, over 2-1. Voters of Hackensack approved it. But in that referendum, we did put a 5-year sunset clause on it. It was an experiment, and we weren't exactly sure if it was going to work or not. It's worked out great. It does expire at the end of this year. But now, tonight, at the business portion of the meeting, there is a resolution to put that referendum back on the ballot for November 2023. What we're looking to do is have the voters continue the Open Space Trust Fund at a rate of 1 penny per $100 of assessed value. In Hackensack, the average home is assessed at $340,000. So that means the annual open space tax would be $34 to the average homeowner. Okay? Right now, the Open Space Trust Fund has a balance of about $1,160,000. If the referendum passes in November, it'll be generating a levy of about $340,000 per year. Okay, so that resolution will be on the business portion tonight, and we ask everybody to support it, and it'll be on the ballot come November. Okay, happy to answer any questions on it.
Any questions, Council? No? Kathy, any question?
No, thank you.
Okay. You're good. Thanks, Jen.
Jim? Yeah. Next up, Jim, we kind of discuss a resolution supporting Bill S3807 and A5567, which is to amend the local bond law.
Thanks, Vinny. Yeah, and tonight's the business portion of the meeting, there'll be a resolution calling for the mayor and council to support, as city manager indicated, Senate Bill 3807 and Assembly Bill 5567, which amends the local bond law. The local bond law is the law that governs how we borrow money, or it sets the rules for our borrowing of money. Okay, in a nutshell, local bond law says that has to do with funding capital projects through serial bonds or bonds and notes. The idea being that if it's a capital item, it has a useful life of at least 5 years. And the idea is to spread the payments over the number of years that the improvement is in place. This way you're not hitting the taxpayers all in 1 year for an improvement. Yeah, just as an example, road resurfacing projects have a useful life of 10 years. Now, what that means is the local bond law determines that road resurfacing has a useful life of 10 years. For finance officers like me, that means that when we borrow for a road program, that borrowing has to be repaid before the useful life is up. Okay, and that's how we work. The problem comes in is that the section 22 of the local bond law, which sets the useful life, was enacted in 1964, and it's never been updated. And specifically, we have two problems with it. First has to do with fire engines. The useful life, according to the local bond law, for a new fire engine is 10 years. That means that when we borrow money for a fire engine, the debt has to be repaid within 10 years. Fire engines last much longer than 10 years. Fire department will tell you that they last 15 years, okay? Reality will tell you that they last 20 years, 22 years, up to 25 years, right? What we'd like to see is an amendment to the local bond law that changes that useful life to 20 years and allows us greater flexibility to pay it back. There's another part of the local bond law that prohibits the bonding for passenger vehicles. Okay, they just don't allow it. They say that passenger vehicles and station wagons don't have a useful life of 5 years, therefore you can't bond for them. Well, vehicles, a lot of vehicles, even police vehicles last more than 5 years. So this legislation seeks to remove that prohibition. If you ever notice, what we do in Hackensack is all of our police vehicles are paid for out of the budget because you can't bond for them. You will see a lot of SUVs because you could bond for SUVs. SUVs are more expensive than passenger vehicles, but you can bond for them, which is why you see so many of them. So, Senate Bill 3807, Assembly Bill 5567 seeks to change these two provisions of the local bond law. Change the useful life on fire engines, make it 20 years, and remove the prohibition against bonding for passenger vehicles. The Government Finance Officers Association of New Jersey is asking CFOs throughout the state to present this to their mayor and council, do a resolution, send it on to the legislature.
Okay.
And that'll be on for the business portion tonight. Okay, any questions? If you have
Council's in favor of this? I'm in favor of it, so. Yep. Kathy, good?
I'm good.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay, also tonight, there was discussion regarding the NPP grant, which we are changing the allocation of funds and substituting what was originally planned for a stage at Anderson Street Park to CCTV cameras in the area. Last but not least, we have our CSO Stormwater and Parks update. I'd ask that Chris Wheaton, our city engineer, come up for the presentation.
Evening, everybody.
Yeah, Chris, please.
Okay, for our CSO and construction and parks project updates, our first slide is just the overview of status for some of the more major and construction and nearing construction projects. As per usual, recent presentations, things that have changed since the last meeting are highlighted in blue, in darker blue. So the items that have changed since our last meeting are the Atlantic Street Garage deck improvements and lighting. There's been some additional weather delays on that project, so that anticipated construction is now showing as July. The change to the Clay Street Contract 2 is that it is essentially completed. We are substantially complete and just have punch list items from the base contract remaining there. And I apologize, that should say July 2023. Well, no, I'm sorry. That's accurate. It was completed just before the 4th, so it was completed the end of June. Our CSO projects include Clay Street Contract 2, which we were just discussing, and as you can see, the driveway has been paved, and the project is, as I said, about substantially complete. We just have some remaining finishing work, seeding, and and some other final items from our punch list. Clay Street Contract 3 includes, is approaching completion. We're at the final stage of crossing under the New Jersey Transit Railroad tracks, which is a jack and bore operation underneath the tracks. We've been doing this for several weeks now. 2 casing pipes have been installed completely, and we're finishing up the 3rd crossing.
Can I ask a question on that? 'Cause I know we had an issue with the board, with the pipe that was bored underneath being the wrong material, non-American or whatever it was. What was the outcome of that?
The updated materials have been submitted to New Jersey Transit for approval and have been brought to DEP's attention for their consideration in payment. So that's where we're at right now, is that information has been provided to those agencies. If they are not approved in a timely fashion, we will proceed, I expect, ask for that pipe to be replaced with American iron and steel as it should have been.
Okay.
Voorhees Lane has made very good progress since our last discussion. The prefab pump station is in the ground. The excavation work has been completed for that, as well as manholes and pipes installed to that new pump station. We are completing backfilling and site grading. We do have remaining electrical work and station startup, and as well as a gas line that needs to be restored. And that work is anticipated for this week, and the startup will continue through this month and into August. But very pleased with how we've come along with the installation of the excavation. That was a big hurdle for a couple of months. The hazard mitigation grant called Post-IDA, we are proceeding with our base mapping program, which is a closed circuit television and inspection and condition assessment effort. And we are about a little more than a quarter of the way complete in terms of linear footage, and we're making reasonable progress. We're getting into areas of the system where there is heavy sediment load, very tight, compacted. It's requiring extra jetting, but that work is proceeding, and I think I might need some new glasses. Either I need to make the type bigger. So yes, we're updating our GIS as we go with this project. We have an active dashboard where the progress of the project is logged. As you can see here, that what's shown in green and shown with directional colored arrows, or green colored direction arrows, is confirming which way the flow travels through those lines and what's been completed. Park status is not too much changed here since our last discussion. We are proceeding with Johnson Park. The earthwork contract includes the loading of the soils on the site to compress and get ready for structural surface superstructure improvements. We're the contractor presently is working on the soil erosion and sediment control measures at this time. Carver Park, as we've discussed in the past, the contractor was not able to start until September. That work has been scheduled, and it does rely on the bond ordinance as well that's on for tonight's council approval. The main court has been temporarily repaired and is presently open for use. Stide Park, as we've discussed, the furniture is delayed until the end of July. There are some remaining punch list items which the contractor has indicated will be completed by the time the site furniture is delivered as well. So regrettably, he's not been to the site to work on those punch list items. His plan is to do it all at once when the furniture is there and he's actively installing and so some of those items include a light pole, some paint touch-up.
There is temporary picnic tables there for camp, which is working out fine. So if there's a way to get around that and get him back there and not wait for the furniture, it's working just fine for now.
Are you suggesting that we forego the furniture?
Well, what else is outstanding? What other furniture?
Bathroom issue.
We have a toilet flushing issue that needs to be resolved.
But what other furniture? Because I think it was
We have
just,
temporary furniture there now.
Yeah, the furniture that's there right now is temporary furniture, right? It was brought from either the park nearby or another site.
okay. I wonder if we could look into that.
I think it's a matter of closing out the contract, that the contractor is trying to do the last bit in one visit. So I understand your concern is to get him to complete as much as possible and not wait for the furniture. But I believe we have some other legal issues to wrangle with, so we'll try to make that happen. But no promises.
Yeah, we've been discussing that actively
Okay.
with Steve and Mary Ann. Fashini Park, we have had our 30% design review with this council subcommittee and have had some discussions about some modifications there, and apologies for my delay, but did just get you that update, and we'll look forward to your comments there. The paving projects are commencing again, as we had indicated last time. We were waiting for school to be out so that we would not disrupt transportation schedules, and this work is getting back underway. The Atlantic Street Garage, I think is the next. The new entrance has been completed, but it's not open yet, as we need to manage access and egress and make sure that we have the work inside the garage that remains completed can be performed. So that new entrance is not quite open yet, but we're the roof level deck has been completed, as you can see on the top right there. It's epoxy coated and striped, and then we're continuing to work through the remaining decks and have a few straggler cars that we're trying to track down to make sure we have access to where work needs to be done. Main Street streetscape is essentially complete. The tree grates, as we've discussed, were also delayed to later this month. There are 2 trees that have been identified as needing replacement, and the contractor's been made aware, and we'll be replacing those trees. And PSE&G is proceeding with the wiring of the lights, the new lights and light poles that have been installed. And that's the conclusion of the presentation. If anybody has any questions, council.
I have one, yes. Can we get a, when you're gonna proceed with the paving, a schedule, what streets are going first? and
Yes.
where?
Sure. Yes, we'll get that
I'd like to
over.
know where they're gonna be. All right,
Yeah, we'll do.
thanks. Any other questions, council? None here. We're good, thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
That's all I have, man.
Okay, need a motion to open to the public, please.
Offer.
All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? Anybody from the public who'd like to speak at this time, please come forward to the podium.
Do we need to get Kathy back up on the screen? Oh, there she is.
Right.
Seeing nobody from the public? Oh, here comes Mr. Smith. Yes,
Good evening, Marty Smith, Prospect Avenue. I'd like to start by thanking Mr. Caruso for being our guest speaker at our June advisory board meeting and explaining the workings of the city manager's office in a great detail, and also fielding questions from our advisory board members and from our guests in attendance. And although Councilman Battaglia is not here, I'd like to thank him as well. He was in attendance and also presented information to us, and both of them made this meeting a very interesting and informative meeting for everybody in attendance. So thank you very much for that. I wonder if anybody on the council can tell me how much of the $460,000 in grant money for pedestrian safety improvement on Prospect Avenue has been spent to date? And also how much of the $350,000 of grant money for intersection improvements at Summit Avenue and Passaic Streets have been spent to date?
I'm gonna have to leave that one to you, because I have no clue.
Of that grant money, none of it has been spent yet.
None of it has been spent, so we still have $700 and some odd thousand available from this grant money.
And that we're starting to advance the engineering portion of it and getting everything done. Especially, I believe it's Prospect and Atlantic, the pedestrian crossing that you were talking, we keep going back and forth with.
Right.
That's all gonna be part of this project.
Do we have a date set yet for the installation of the
No.
crosswalk at Prospect and Atlantic?
No, I can't comment on that yet. We still have some engineering issues that need to be addressed. But it'll be done. It'll get done.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Anyone else from the public? Seeing no one from the public, motion to close.
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
None opposed. We did have one, it was Enriquez?
Yeah, we have a couple. Just for purposes of public, during the executive session, there were certain litigation matters that were discussed. Without getting into detail, there was a workers' compensation action. Enriquez is the claimant in that action, where the potential settlement of additional claims was discussed. There was also a report to the governing body that a lawsuit against the city and certain individuals by Rocco Duardo was just dismissed this afternoon. And some litigation, potential litigation relating to the State Park project. Or Side Park, sorry.
So with that, I need a motion to close the executive session.
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion to close the council of the whole.
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, with that, we will be back in about 20 minutes. All right? Let's just grab the council back inside the
Yeah.
5. Thank you.